Hello and welcome to our Six Tackles with Gus grand final preview. After a long and fun season, we have reached the end of the road for 2025. Thanks to our great friends at Tab for supporting us right throughout the year, and I'm sure it's going to be a very busy weekend for our mates over there as well. What started with 17 teams is down to 2. The Storm versus the Broncos. You can watch all the action of Grand Final Day live and free on 9 and 9 now. And, of course, the big game, the NRL Grand Final, exclusively live to 9's Wide World of Sports. Now, some serious business to start. Over the last few weeks, my man Gus has had some health issues, unfortunately. And viewers of 100% Footy would have seen that he was absent from the show on Monday, and unfortunately, he can't be with me this week either, which, given it's grand final week, is a real shame. So I've had to embark on the task of finding the right replacement. And the criteria, very stringent. Rugby league expert, tick. Grand final hero, tick. Coaching mastermind, tick. Media megastar, tick. Yep. There was only one man who could fulfill all of this criteria, and he is here in the hot seat for Six Tackles with the Big Man for this week, Darryl Brohman.
Oh, Tom, thank you. What a lovely introduction from you. Yeah, I hope Gussie's okay. I know he's not 100% by a long way, and it's a great opportunity for me to step in for Gussie. I don't get an opportunity to be a guru very often, even though I believe I am.
You are an expert.
Yeah, I believe I'm an expert, but no one else does. I mean, they see me and think, this bloke's a dickhead, and they're probably right on most occasions. But
do you see this as an opportunity for you to maybe step into this seat more regularly? I.e., is there an opportunity for you to backstab Phil Gould?
It possibly is. I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I've got the credentials to take over from Gussie. He's one of the smartest men in the history of rugby league, and he's got a lot of enemies, which is good because I've got the same enemies. And I do think very similar.
There is an overlap. Yes.
Yeah. No, I do think very similarly to Gus, and as I've said, well, I haven't said it. I've said it a lot of times, not on this great show, but I owe a lot to Gus. He helped me out in tough times in my life, and I appreciate everything he's done for me. And he's a great friend, and he's been well, I wouldn't say a mentor to me, but I've looked up to him forever and ever. He's just done very well for himself.
He has done well for himself. He's a good kid. It's good to see you. We've worked a lot on the radio this year. It's always great fun. So it's wonderful to have you here to look at the grand final. You are a grand final hero yourself back in 1984. Now, I would imagine, in fact, I know, grand final day now compared to then are vastly different. What did your grand final week look like in 1984?
It wasn't much different to what we did week in, week out. I was nervous because I knew it was a great opportunity for me, and I'd played for Penrith for 5 years leading into that, and we were down the tail of the field of the competition every year. And I decided I didn't really decide to go to Canterbury. I got sacked by Penrith.
It's a decision made for you.
So I had to make a decision. Yeah, the decision was really made for me, and I had two choices to go to Canterbury or Parramatta.
Oh,
quite remarkably.
I never knew that.
And Parramatta had won 3 in a row, and I wanted to go to Parramatta because I was still living in Penrith, and it was closer, and they'd won 3 comps in a row, and I'd love to have played with them.
So you could have played with that great Parramatta team.
Absolutely. In 84, I could have.
Wow.
But at the end of the day, I went to Canterbury because they offered me more money. And also, I did know, with all due respect to myself on this, it wasn't just the money. I knew they were going to be hard to beat because the Bulldogs in those early, 81, 2 and 3, probably were the third best side in the comp. And in 84, they got a new coach. Warren Ryan went there. Terry Lamb went there. Peter Kelly went there. Peter Tunks went there. They bought a lot of good players. And I thought, I'm happy to jump on board here because I knew they'd be better. And at the end of the day, we smashed Parramatta 6-4.
In a resounding result.
It was a resounding result. So it was the greatest day of my life. And to the players who were playing in this game on Sunday, they probably don't realise at the moment how big an influence or impact this could have on their whole life.
Oh, for sure.
It does change your life. And, I'm 69 now and I can still remember most of the 84 grand final. I can't remember what I did last week, but I can remember the 84 grand final. So it's a really, really prestigious thing. And as I said, I'm not convinced the players playing in this game on Sunday realise the impact it will have on their life.
Or maybe if they win, they'll realise in years to come. Although many people say, former players like yourself always reflect on their time in the game when they finish. So maybe it means a bit more to you after that. Did you get the week off work in 84?
Can't Can't remember what I was doing. I was working. I think I was working for Peter Anderson. I'm not sure what I was doing. If he was the police minister. No, I didn't have the week off work, mate. We had jobs. We all had jobs in those days.
This is the thing I was getting at. Like your grand final week compared to now, you had to go to work.
Yeah, we worked. Mate, 95% of the players who were playing rugby league back in that era had jobs, and we had to work. Like that was probably where we were earning, the weekly wage, blah, 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 to just cover everything. And the footy stuff was just like, cream on the top. And not a lot of us were getting big money. I can't remember what I was getting. I think I was getting 20-something thousand, which was not bad.
That's good coin.
Well, yeah, it is. But, mate, these days they're getting 600 and 700. So, I would have been a 700.
What would you have been worth? 700?
I reckon 700. Yeah. At my best. Mate, my worst, 200.
It's quite a gulp.
Well, it is. There was a fair margin between my best and my worst.
Now we'll have a deep dive into the game. So don't spend all your money here. But you called it the Sunday game. Thrilling game. What do you think?
You know what, Tom? I think this season's semi-finals is the best I've experienced, without a doubt. I think each and every game has held a lot of interest, and it hasn't let anyone down. Every game has been exciting. They've been reasonably close, and you really didn't know in most games the winner until right at the end of the 80 minutes, and one of them didn't go. It went more than 80 minutes. So the two Sunday games that the Broncos have been involved in against Canberra, that's probably one of the greatest games I've ever watched and been a part of, just purely and simply because of the excitement level and the shock level that twice or maybe even three times Canberra looked like they had the game won, and for somehow Brisbane, or the ref or a video ref or whoever found a reason to deny Canberra those points. And at the end of the day, a Ben Hunt field goal won them that game. I thought last Sunday's game when Brisbane were down 14-0 at half-time, there's not many clubs in the competition can come from 14-0 down against Penrith and win. Penrith normally just don't give you any opportunity. But they got a couple of opportunities. I thought Katoni Staggs was magnificent on Sunday. He scored the first try.
He's been magnificent all year.
Well, he has been. And then, you get the other big bloke, Willison, scored the second try. And then as soon as that try was scored and it got to, 14-10, you just knew they were coming to get him. And they
were down by 16 against Canberra, I'll remind you, in week one.
Exactly. I mean, but you could feel it with the crowd there, at Suncorp with 50-odd thousand there, mate. That's as great a influence. That crowd has bigger influence on that game as any crowd has on any game, I reckon. It was even like it was State of Origin-esque and maybe even better in sometimes.
I think it was a better game than any of the Origin games this year.
Mate, it was phenomenal. And then there's other games throughout and I've forgotten some of the other games. You forget about them, but how good they were. But this semi-final series, and I have no qualms in saying it is the greatest that I've ever experienced.
You can give us a shake or a nod, depending on how your answer corresponds with the following questions. Now, obviously, Penrith, their run of 4 straight premierships has come to an end. But my question is, they will win more comps in the next 3 years. No. Over?
Yep.
Really?
I think it's over. I think it'll hurt them losing that game the other day, and I think it's over. As much as I think they're a great club and they're a great side and they're well coached and they've got so much going for them, I think it's really hard. You've won 4 in a row. The disappointment of losing last week and missing out on the 5th, I think, will hurt them more than they probably think at the moment. I think other sides are gaining with players, whereas they've been losing players for the last 4 years, and they might lose a couple this year. I don't know, but I think their reign is over, and I don't think they'll be winning. I don't think they'll be winning any in the next 3 years.
There you have it. I'm shocked by that.
I'm hard but fair here.
I think maybe them getting to a preliminary final this year, they might look back and actually think that it's a win for them this year, given that they were last after 12 rounds of the comp. And I think it's probably fair to say they ran out of juice.
I think
on the weekend.
Too.
But they were trying to go to their 6th straight grand final. That's unprecedented in the modern game.
It is. What they've done is incredible, absolutely incredible. But I just think, you're saying they've run out of juice. I just think it might they might continue to run out of juice. I know they've probably got the greatest player in the game in Nathan Cleary running the show, but there's no doubt they'll lose some more players. And
I don't know they are losing any more this year.
I'll be surprised if they don't. But in saying that, have they bought anyone?
I think they've
they'll need
recruited a few around the periphery, but their system is that they like to develop from within, and that they've got any number of young players coming through the system, so they'll continue to rely on that. I will be tipping them to win the comp next year.
Okay. Well, I shan't be doing that.
But you're an expert, and that's what you're here for.
That's right.
Panthers gone, according to the big man. Reece Walsh is one game away from being the Australian fullback.
I think they'll go with Edwards. I think he'll go.
So is that a no?
Oh, sorry, I forgot that, didn't I?
No.
We've got sound effects, you see.
Can we redo that again?
Yeah.
Thank you. Do it again.
There you go.
Mate, I love Reece Walsh.
You do love Reece Walsh.
But I think Dylan Edwards deserves to go. He had, by his standards, he had a pretty patchy season, I think, with the Panthers. But I think his last half a dozen games were just as good as Dylan Edwards can dish up, and I think he's a quality player. I think for mine, he's definitely in the team. Reece Walsh. Look,
what if he comes out and wins the Clive Churchill medal?
Yeah, well, maybe. Look, they're taking 22 players. I don't know what sort of players he wants on the bench. I'd love to see him go because he is an excitement machine. I mean, Tomo, every time he gets the ball, everyone either wants to stand or they want to cheer or they want to just see what he does. And the beauty of him is if he stuffs it up, right, and he might stuff it up again the next time he gets the ball. The third time he gets it, he won't. Yeah. And he just doesn't give a rat's.
He keeps going, doesn't he?
He keeps making plays that most players wouldn't do and could curl up into their little shell and just, find a place to hide. He doesn't do that. And that's what I love about him. I've said this a couple of times. I've only met him once or twice, but he's quite an impressive young bloke. He's quite respectful, which surprised me because, he's got that bit of lair about him. We all know that. But off the field, I found him decent bloke, and everyone I've spoken to say the same thing about him. So, what you see with him isn't exactly what you get all the time. But I love watching him play.
For sure. Yeah.
I can't remember, did I say yes or no then?
You said no, but I think you're trying to convince yourself the answer is actually yes.
Yeah.
If he has a blinder in the grand final, bear in mind, James Tedesco has said he's not going now.
Yeah. If they take two fullbacks, and I don't think he needs to go as a fullback only, he could play anywhere. I think he probably deserves to go. I should change my mind to yes.
Okay.
Yes, okay.
Teddy's not going on the Kangaroo Tour, but my question is, he'll win the Dally M tonight.
Length of the straight, I think.
He was the continuous call team player of the year.
Mate, he was a continuous call team player of the year, I think, with about 3 rounds to go.
He's been tremendous.
He was that far in front. His season was phenomenal. Maybe the last couple of games not as great as he had all year, but mate, he was clearly the Roosters' best player for the whole year, and he is just a great player. He's just full of energy. He's now got a passing game. He's never had a passing game. Well, he didn't have a passing game until probably the last 5 or 6 years, but he's now got a passing game, and his vision is as good as anyone's in the game.
Yeah, his leadership this year has been the thing that stood out to me.
Yep, that's a yes.
He will be winning the Dally M. We'll go through the list of nominees and get your thoughts on it a little bit later. Okay. My final question. Craig Bellamy is Rugby League's greatest ever coach.
No.
I don't know. Look, he's up there. He's in the conversation. I think it's a big call to say he's the greatest ever coach in the history of the game. That plenty would say Bennett. Now, Bennett's obviously in the latter stages, and his last few years haven't been all that flash. But Bennett's record is outstanding. So is Bellamy's. But, at the moment, I don't think Bellamy is the greatest coach of all time. Jack Gibson was a remarkable coach. There's a lot of good coaches. Gussie was a great coach. It depends on what the parameters are, If you're going purely and simply on getting sides to a grand final, well, maybe Bellamy is, but he's been around a long time too.
So let me run these stats by you. This is the Melbourne Storm posted these stats when he became the 4th coach to reach 600 premiership games earlier in the year. He's looking for his 6th grand final win on Sunday. They've had 6 minor premiership victories. He's been a 7 times Dally M Coach of the Year. Make of that what you will. But the one that stands out to me is that Melbourne have made 21 of 22 final series since he's been in charge.
Your stats
They've
are
missed
compelling.
the finals once. And I'm trying to think about I haven't quite got it in my head. I had it in my notes on the weekend. But I think they've made the top 4 9 out of the last 10 years. Something like it's. I don't think there's any coach in the history of the game that has a record like that at club level.
Probably not. You're probably right. But whether he goes down as the greatest coach of all time, I don't know. Do you think the fact that they, got caught with the salary cap plays a role in this?
They're not included in his premiership wins.
Yeah, I know they're not.
But do you think record books?
Do you think that sort of just taints it a little?
Well, not to my way of thinking, because I don't think we're going back a long time here. I don't think the players within that team, despite the club doing the wrong thing, would have been the players they were unless they were coached by Craig Bellamy.
No, mate, his coaching record is phenomenal. But there's been a lot of great coaches whose record isn't as good as his. And you can go through all the ones I mentioned, Bennett, Gibson, whatever. But whether he's the greatest coach in the history of the game, well, time
you're happy
to
put him in the conversation anyway.
Oh, he's certainly in the conversation. There's no doubt about that. His record says he is. What you just spat out there says he is the greatest coach of all time, but I've just got my doubts.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you're the expert here, Darryl.
I seem to be disagreeing with you a lot.
No, that's okay.
You could change my thoughts on it.
Well, I've already done it once. So I'll let you stick with that. So head to head in finals, Melbourne 6 wins, Brisbane 3. They met in the 2006 grand final, which Brisbane won 15 points to 8, and believe it or not, that's the last time the Broncos won the trophy, Darryl. Incredible to think.
What year was that?
2006.
Is that the last time, really?
Yeah, it's been 19 years. This is the powerhouse club in the game.
It is.
They were coached by captained by Darren Lockyer that afternoon, and incredible to think they haven't won a premiership since. They came within a handful of minutes of winning one a couple of years ago, but they returned to the grand final after that heartbreak of 2023, and Melbourne are back there after losing in heartbreaking fashion to the Panthers last year. So both teams have unfinished business. What's your top line thought about what might happen on Sunday?
Look, like the true expert I am, I've got no idea.
I think everyone's the same.
Look, I will be tipping Melbourne. And I'll tell you why. And it all comes down to one player. I think, in my eyes, I think Harry Grant will be the difference. This year we saw Queensland in State of Origin. They lost the first game, won the last 2. Now, Harry Grant had a really quiet game in Game 1 for Queensland. But in Games 2 and 3, he was outstanding. Simply outstanding. And I just felt that Harry Grant had a pretty quiet semi the last time they played, which they won. And I just get a correlation here that he's going to come out and he's going to fire up. And if he fires up, they're going to be too good. I've got to say also, I've never seen Utoikamanu play as good as he played last week.
That was clearly his best game.
Without a doubt. I think he's been a little bit... trying to use the right word. Timid's probably not the right word, but he's never really fired up on an occasion, but he fired up against the Sharkies and he offloaded the ball. It was devastating. And you know what? I was really glad to see him come out and say what he said the other day. To me, it seems as though he's thought, well, it's now my time. And
maybe he's trying to fire himself up.
Well, mate, he played for the Tigers, right? So this is I think his first year, isn't it, there at Melbourne? Yeah. I'm not sure. His first year at Melbourne. So he's got an opportunity of going from the,
wooden spoon,
the whatever house to the penthouse here, I
think shit house is okay on this podcast.
He's going in 1 year for down the bottom to the top. And he's got an opportunity, like I said before, to be a premiership winner. I just think Harry Grant and him, on his performance last week, are going to be awfully hard to stop. In saying that, the performance of Payne Haas last week was just stupendous. I thought he was magnificent.
Stupendous?
It was stupendous. That's a word I don't use very often.
I haven't heard you ever say that before.
I'm not sure where I plucked it from, but I'm continuing to use it. Stupendous. That's the word I'm using for Payne Haas.
Can you squeeze that in on the weekend?
Please, I can throw stupendous in. It won't be a problem. There with Levy, if he's calling and I can get a word in.
Let's just stick with Melbourne for the moment. I think everyone was waiting to see if Jerome Hughes would come out and play with confidence, and we're waiting to see whether he'd be inconvenienced by those injuries. It was hard to fathom what you saw. He was absolutely phenomenal.
He was, wasn't he? You wouldn't have known he had an injury.
Well, he palmed he put a fend on, I can't remember who it was, went straight through the middle of the Sharks' defence and scored the individual try himself early in the game, and that kind of set the marker for what was things to come. He was unstoppable.
He was great, wasn't he? And he didn't look like he had an injury.
No.
How many did he play the whole game? I can't recall.
Yep.
But there was a couple of times where I saw him when he got tackled and he had to put his arm down to sort of fend, you sort of stop the hit when you hit the ground. And it was his bad arm and he got through it okay. He looked like he didn't have a problem in the world and his fitness was great. He's he's a big kingpin in their side, isn't he? Him and you can, you know what, the bigger the game, the better Munster plays as well. I think they'll be disappointed with what they dished up in last year's grand final. I thought they were disappointing in last year's grand final. I can't remember what the score was, but
14-6.
They were never really going to win the game. And I think Munster, Harry Grant, Hughes, the big three, I can see them, you know, just leading the way for them.
Well, they've played a different style of football to what we're used to seeing from Melbourne this year. It's been more, I won't say off the cuff, but it hasn't been so systematic, has it? Like, no. They've got those great running players, and it looks like Bellamy's encouraged them to play what they see, and so as a result of that, they look far more dangerous with the ball.
Yeah, they do. They've found, well, like always, they found some players who were just outstanding. Katoa, the back rower, I don't know if he was the leading forward try scorer this year.
He was equal, with 14.
Yeah, mate, he scored a try nearly every game.
He's the best second row in the world now.
Whether it was from a kick, which he's almost unstoppable. If they put a bomb up, he doesn't drop them.
No.
Or from just running into holes and being fed the ball into a bit of space. He's a fantastic back rower. Liero, we saw him. He's played State of Origin footy. And all the other boys are doing a great job. Look, I'm trying to talk myself into thinking they'll win. And I am. I'm doing a good job with myself, by the way.
Positive reinforcement.
Well, I think I think it might be their time.
Yeah.
You know, they've been there so many times in the past, but I think they'll be disappointed with what they dished up last year, and they'll have a bit of fire in their belly, I think, and they can win.
Harry hasn't won a comp, you know. He was a West Tiger back in 2020. He was playing with the West Tigers in 2020.
Well, I can't believe that. I can't. Harry Grant's never won a comp. Well, he's going to be winning one this week.
Where's your American accent come from?
I just throw it in occasionally. It's part of my...
It's stupendous.
Part of my stuff.
Yeah. Yes, so maybe his time has come. From a Broncos perspective, sort of thinking ahead to that game last week against the Panthers, they are just so dangerous. Like they're the most dangerous team I can remember. You know, I can't think of too many teams that can just turn the switch on like they can.
Yep.
We saw it against Canberra. They were gone. Like against the Raiders, they were absolutely gone. Well, there's no way they could win.
There's 20 minutes of Reece Walsh magic in that game, just won the game for them.
Well, that underlines their danger. And again, bearing in mind, if Penrith had a scored coming out of half-time last Sunday, they'd probably win the game. They go up 20 points to 0. But once Brisbane got a sniff, as you say, they finished like a freight train.
I thought all their backs were really, really good on the weekend. Reece Walsh, even though he wasn't as great as he was, you know, the previous week against Canberra, he was pretty good, or the fortnight before against Canberra, he was pretty good. But I thought Karapani and Mariner, the wingers, were tremendous. Geez, they did a good job. Staggs was magnificent. Shibasaki, I think, was really underrated. I think his performance was brilliant. Then you got Hunt and Reynolds, who are just great players. Look, they're a definite chance in the game, but I'm just thinking the Storm might just get them.
I'll be happy for Ben Hunt if he's able to get it done.
I feel a bit sorry. Well, everyone feels a bit sorry for Ben Hunt. Like he left the Dragons at the end of last year, and I'm not sure, you know, where they are at with that. He's a quality player, Ben Hunt, but I think he believed he was probably a little bit undervalued at the Dragons. I might be wrong there, but I think he had a point to prove. He went back to Brisbane. It was 10 years ago. He dropped that ball from the kickoff. Was it 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
And
it's amazing how things work. He's back in a Broncos jumper. He gets another shot at it.
Yeah, he does, and a realistic chance of winning it. And then Adam Reynolds, who's had that. Well, it's quite ironic when you think about what's happened. In that game against Melbourne about 7 or 8 weeks ago, they lost all those players. Yeah. They lost Cobbo, Ezra Mam,
and
Reynolds, all in the one within about 2 minutes of each other.
Reynolds and Mam were the same tackle.
Yeah. And they just lost them all, and that was against Melbourne. So now they've got an opportunity to play against them before. I think Reynolds is looking as fit as I've ever seen him. He must have done a hell of a lot of work in those weeks that he had off. And he looks tremendous. I thought he looked younger the other day. Maybe
he shaved.
Yeah, he's had a shave. That's probably what it was. But he did look younger. He looked fitter. And to slot that goal under that amount of pressure was he's a quality player, and he's a big hope of winning a comp.
I like what Reece Walsh said when they asked why did you give Reynolds the kick? Well, he'd be kicking like a bastard. Because that's one of the reasons. But he said, well, this is what he's made for. You know,
well, that's what they bought
handed
him for,
the ball, and he nailed it. Absolutely nailed it.
And under the pressure, like he had 52,000 people there watching him, and 45,000 of them Broncos supporters all sort of hanging off his coattails, and he nailed it. It was a great kick. I don't know him, but he looks a lovely bloke, and
He's a good fella.
yeah, and they're a chance. He's a chance.
Where do you rate Payne Haas among the best front rowers you've ever seen, Big Man?
He could be the best. If in the modern game, he's the best by far. It depends on how far you want to go back. And see, front rowers have evolved a fair bit over the years. In the old days, it wasn't just about meter readers and all that sort of stuff, but it was offloads and the whole sort of thing. But he's got an offload. In saying that, he doesn't do it a lot because maybe it's because that's not his job. He's probably told just to get down there, head down, bum up, and just power your way through. And he's the best of the current, brand of front row by a long way. And he could well be one of the greatest of all time.
Gus and I spoke about this a few weeks ago, and Gus said, well, statistically, he is the best front rower ever.
Mm.
Yeah. There are other factors that come into it.
Yeah,
but there hasn't been any. I mean, you've been around the game a very long time. I can't think of anyone who I would say is better than him.
No, I can't either. Depends. As I said, one of the greatest players ever is Arthur Beetson. Now, whether you classify Arthur as a front row or a second row, I don't know. It's up to you. But Arthur Beetson to me is from my era and before, he is without doubt the greatest front row ever to play the game. Payne Haas is not an Arthur Beetson, but Arthur couldn't do what Payne does. Arthur didn't have the motor that Payne Haas has got.
Right.
It's a different era, and it's hard to compare. In the current era, if you're talking about the last, say, 20 years, without a doubt, he's the best front rower in the game, in the history of the game. But overall, I think it's a big call. As I said, Arthur Beetson, to me, is probably still number one.
Okay. You're talking when you start talking about players in Arthur Beetson's.
There was no one
in his
his era.
His era. Well, mate, in his status in the game, like that's the ultimate rap.
Well, mate, in those days they were all trying to take his head off. To start with, he managed to survive an era where it was quite vicious, and they were always he was always targeted. Without a doubt, he was targeted because if you stopped him, he'd probably win the game. But he just had this uncanny ability. He's just a big, strong thing, and just had this ability to offload. He was a great player.
All right, I'll get all your tips and Clive Churchill's and stuff a little bit later. Okay, so just hold fire. Dally M's tonight. So we're recording this Wednesday afternoon, so hopefully we'll have this out well ahead of Dally M time.
Yep.
Let's go through the Team of the Year nominees first, and then we'll get to the other awards. Fullback nominees, Teddy, Reece, Walsh, Kyo Weeks.
Yeah, Teddy's got to win.
I could make a case for Kyo Weeks. I mean, I'm conscious Teddy will probably win the whole thing, but Kyo Weeks has been absolutely outstanding and unheralded. Did anyone know he was this good?
No, I don't think so. Well, I think they had a number of players, Canberra, that we didn't think were as good as what they turned out to be.
Very true.
In saying that, I can't go past Teddy. I probably saw more of Teddy than I did of Kyo Weeks in games. Reece Walsh is another nominee there. Reece Walsh is an extraordinary talent. But if you're asking me who the best fullback of the year is, I don't think anyone would disagree with James Tedesco.
I'm going to highlight
James Tedesco. Get on if you can too.
I don't think we bet on this anymore.
Okay.
I think they closed that loophole a while ago.
Oh, well.
And thanks to our great friends at Tab, of course.
I'd love to get on with the Tab.
I don't know. I don't think we're offering that. Wingers of the year, two of them: Coates, Carraz, Lomax, Nwanganitawasi, Savage.
I think Nwanganitawasi has to be as one of them. I was lucky enough to interview him, and he knew who I was, and I really liked that. So he's gone right up in my estimations.
He would be a very good inclusion amongst the Lowe's models because he's a good style of a bloke.
Yeah, look, as long as you don't get any fat blokes wanting to muscle their way in there, I don't want any big blokes
different demographics.
Yeah, no, it's different. Yeah, he would be, but I don't know. The pay rate might just be a bit low for him. I'm not sure there. But I think he's number one. I think he had a phenomenal season. The other ones, I'd probably go Xavier Coates, but an honourable mention to Carraz. I love Carraz. I think he's a great player, and he's done a lot of great stuff for the Dogs. But I think Xavier Coates for Melbourne on the other wing.
Missed a lot of footy at the start of the year, Carraz. I think those two are the clear standouts.
Yeah, I think those two are probably right.
Centres, Crichton Farnworth, Casey McLean, Tony Staggs, Robert Toyer.
I think you and I might disagree on this. I think Crichton will be in there for sure. I think he's number one. And I know he's missed a bit of football, but Herbie Farnworth is an excitement machine. I love Herbie Farnworth. I know you're a big rap on Tony Staggs, and the other two are very good players. So, the top three, in my opinion, are Crichton, Farnworth and Staggs, but I'm going Crichton and Farnworth.
Well, in fact, Darryl, we picked our 6 tackles teams of the year a couple of weeks back, and they were my centres. So there you go.
Well, I think they deserve to be. Farnworth is an amazing player. you saw the impact it had when he got injured and missed out with the Dolphins. He's just a machine.
5/8 of the year. Burton, Munster, Strange.
I'm going to go Ethan Strange.
Well done.
I think he's had a great season, and the other two have as well. Not so much Matt Burton, but I think Munster is just Munster's Munster. You know what you're going to get with him. He's enthusiastic. He's strong. You can't control him. He just plays off the top of his head, and he's just a wonderful player. But I'm going to go Ethan Strange purely and simply on the way he's managed to probably guide the Raiders to the position they got to at the end of the year. I thought he was, as a 5'8", I thought he was outstanding.
He was an unstoppable force at times.
Brilliant.
He was absolutely outstanding with his ball running, and great defender as well. Halfback, Cleary, Fogarty, Katoa.
I think Katoa. Katoa. Well, Katoa left Penrith because of Nathan Cleary, so... but I think what he showed with the Dolphins this year is he's a quality player and he's classy. He's got this uncanny ability to straighten the attack up, and so do the other boys. But I think out of those Cleary's probably the best player in the game, but I'm going to go Katoa. I thought he had a tremendous year.
How did Tom Dearden not get nominated?
Yeah, well, Tom Dearden might have paid the price of being a 5'8" and a halfback. He's played all over the place. He won. Did he win? He won the best player in the State of Origin series.
Yeah, he's won the Ron McAuliffe medal 2 years in a row. He's the only player ever to do that.
Well,
they'd run last without him.
Mate, who selected these?
This is outrageous.
Let's get on to somebody. Tab.
That's not the tab.
Okay.
Hooker of the year, Blake Brayley. Hang on.
What?
Harry must have been suspended, was he? I was just about to say this is an outrage.
Who's in charge of these? You going, by the way?
No,
Okay.
I declined respectfully.
What's the matter? Just keep going. Hooker of the
Tom
year.
didn't get suspended?
He might have.
We've got our extensive team of researchers looking this up.
Good choice if he got suspended.
Blake Brayley, Uppy Coruscant, Tom Starling.
I don't think there's any doubt. Blake Brayley, his last 10 weeks for the Sharks was phenomenal. There was a stage during the year where I wasn't critical of him, but I just wanted to see him run the ball. And, I'm not saying I'm a genius, but as soon as he started running the ball, they looked a better side and he looked a better player. But his last 10 weeks, I think he'll finish on the heels of Tedesco and the Dally M's. I think he's had that good a year, Blake Brayley, for the Sharks, that I think he will be in the running. I think he'll finish top 3 in the Dally M's. And I think Hooker of the Year, I think he deserves it. Starling and Cappy, both great players, but I think Blake Brayley without a doubt.
Yep, I think that one's a lock. Back rowers, Angus Crichton, Lika Halasima, a bolter. I think he might be nominated for rookie too. Eli Katoa, Liam Martin, Hudson Young.
I think Hudson Young won.
Yep.
And number 2, I'm going to go Eli Katoa.
Pretty easy, that one.
I think
lock forward, Aaron Clark, Nafahu White, Isaiah Yo.
Probably say Isaiah Yo. I think it's a great credit to the other boys that they got nominated. I'm not convinced Nafahu White's a lock. But Aaron Clark had a great season, but Isaiah Yo is a superstar.
All right, just quickly, Coach of the Year, Seraldo Maguire Stewart.
Ricky Stewart.
Captain of the Year, Cleary, Crichton, Tedesco.
Oh, Tedesco.
Teddy. Rookie of the Year, this is interesting. Gee, it's a good list. Halasima, Yongi, and Toya. Bearing in mind Robert Toya played 3 Origins in his first year.
Yeah, and he did brilliantly well, didn't he? I'll go Robert Toya.
Yeah.
I was going to go Halasima. Look, they're all great young players, and Halasima is just a big, strong thing, and he's devastating and can find the line. But I think Robert Toya gets lost in the ether a little bit.
I think he does too. I think he's been very underrated.
Well, he's played 3 Origins. They won 2 of them, and he's played in the Roosters and played extremely well for them. And no one had heard of him before the start of the year. Good point. We're going Robert Toya.
Yes.
Rubber stamp that.
It's in. Lock it in.
Yes.
All right, so there's the Big Marn's Dally M selections. Ask Big Marn. Thanks to the Tab, it's NRL Grand Final time, and for the best time in sport, Tab has the very best app in sport. Tab, we are on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
The big question in rugby league at the moment, Darryl, who's replacing Teddy Swims if he can't perform on Sunday?
Jeez.
Could you imagine if the entertainer is omitted before kickoff? An hour before kickoff, Teddy Swims scratched. We need to find someone.
I don't know. Who would you got?
Julie Anthony.
No. Mate, I don't know. I'd love Barnesy, but Barnesy might not be there. I'll have to just grab someone out of the crowd, have a karaoke or something.
We might have to get like a cover band from a local pub.
Well, they've done that in the past, I reckon. Mate, I don't know who Teddy Swims is, but everyone tells me he's sensational.
He's got a very good voice.
They said he's phenomenal and a great choice. I think he'll be there because
you've got inside mail on Teddy Swims.
I've got a lot of inside mail. Mate, he was sick last week. He's not going to fly over here. You know, that's a long flight. And then say, look, I can't do it.
How do you know where he was?
He's flying at the moment. I've got insights everywhere. I've got people. got spies in America. Is he American?
I believe so.
Well, I've got spies over there telling me he's jumped on a flight in Las Vegas and he's on his way here now. So Teddy Swims will be here. It's Wednesday, mate. He won't get here till Friday or whatever.
Maybe the fact he's been in Vegas could be the issue.
Well, maybe
but it's a bit dusty.
You know, he'll be right. He'll be here. Mate, I'm happy with Barnesy. He did it a couple of years ago, and I thought he was tremendous.
Fantastic.
You know, I love Barnesy, but mate, Teddy Swims, he'll be here, mate. Take it from me, he'll be here. What
are the other memorable grand final entertainers that you can remember?
What was the one where the music didn't work or something?
Billy Idol.
Billy Idol, that was one of the greats. I can't even remember when that was. That'd be a long time ago.
That was early 2000s.
Yeah, long time ago.
Are you a grand final entertainment kind of guy?
Yeah, you know what? I never was. I watched the AFL the other day. I don't even know a song Snoop Dogg sings. I thought he was tremendous.
Did you really?
I loved it.
I didn't. Snoop Dogg was your kind of guy.
He's not my kind of guy, but I thought with all the choreography and everything that went on there, I thought that was a great show and a great lead up to that grand final. And, you know, I don't know how much he cost them, but he would have cost them a pretty
Probably
penny.
about 10 mil.
Yeah. But I think it was worth it, mate. I think he would have had, I don't know what the reviews were on him, but I thought he was tremendous. I didn't realise he was so tall. He's very tall and skinny.
Well, when I was at the Olympics last year, he was employed by NBC as to sort of, and they just created a job for him where they just employed him to go around and watch various sports and cheer on the United States.
Really?
And they had a film crew with him. And he was at the pool when I was calling the swimming. I'll show you.
You got a photo with him?
Well, not with him, but if I'm sitting in our commentary position, he would have been 5 metres away on the right-hand side because NBC were in front of us.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is really strange. I'm up at the Olympics and there's Snoop Dogg. I took a photo of him watching the swimming.
Can you imagine how big he would be in the States? Like, he would just be an absolute, wherever he walked, there would be people everywhere. You know, wouldn't there? I mean, he was pretty big here. And as I said, I don't know a song he sings, but I just love the vibe and everything that he you know, the positive attitude that I think he sort of threw out there. They had to X out a couple of swear words in the song, though, I noticed.
Yes.
Which is very nice of him.
Wonder if he was in engaging in any of his, what shall we say, pre-match activities.
Well, you'd think so. It's a wonder he got in here.
Oh, man. Jeez, he gives it a nudge. My goodness.
Well, mate, he was doing gigs while he was here as well. He just didn't come out for that. I think he did one that night.
He did one at the Bella Vista Hotel in Western Sydney.
It's amazing.
Why would he do that?
Well, because he's Snoop Dogg.
He's
he
a
can
man
do
of the
whatever he
people.
wants. D-O-double-G-E. Is that what he says?
Doggy.
Doggy, whatever. He spells it a bit. It's Snoop Dogg, D-O-double-G.
D-O-double-G.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah,
I thought he was good. We haven't fixed any problems. We
Teddy,
don't need to fix it. Teddy Swims will be right.
Oh, that's your mail. I thought with Teddy in doubt, they could have just got Snoop Dogg to hang around and he could have done the double.
Well, he's earned another 10 million in the last week since then. It must be worth squillion Snoopy.
I would have thought so.
Where does he live, do you know?
Las Vegas.
Does he live in Vegas?
No, I just made that up.
Catch up with him next year. G'day, doggy.
If Brisbane beat Melbourne, that question was from Blake, by the way. Thanks, Blake. Great
Good
stuff.
on you, Blake. Good question.
Ash wants to know, if the Broncos beat Melbourne, could you see Ben Hunt retiring?
I don't know. I don't know what his mindset is. He's 35, isn't he? 30 going on 36.
He's 35, yeah.
Mate, he's playing well enough.
Did he relocate his family?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've all gone back up there. Mate, he's a Brisbane boy originally? I'm not sure. But he's a Queensland boy originally, obviously. So I would imagine he's up there with his family. I would imagine he's got another year to go and he's on a deal. I don't know. I imagine he signed a 2-year deal. I don't think he'll retire, no.
Samuel wants to know if we can clear this up.
Yeah, I'm here for
we'll
you,
try.
Sammy boy.
The starting 17 are the only ones to get a ring on grand final day if the team wins. If that's the case, can the NRL or should the NRL change the rules? If you play any minutes in a premiership winning team throughout the season, you should also be presented a ring on the day, according to Samuel. Now, for some perspective, Samuel, that you would use anywhere between, 24 to 30 players in a season.
Mm.
But, I mean, this is the whole mystique of being part of a premiership winning team, a grand final winning team. I'll tell you, it's a great example. Mat Eisenhuth from Penrith.
Yep.
He's been part of that Penrith team in the last 4 years, never played any of the grand finals and hasn't got a ring. Now, it's sad, but he hasn't played in the grand final.
Mate, I think it'd be nice if the club bought them one.
Good point.
You know, I mean, I imagine they're quite expensive. It might be a couple of thousand. I don't know. I don't know what a ring's worth. But if Mat Eisenhuth, if you're using him as an example, I would think he would be a very valued member of that Penrith community there, not just as a player, but as a, you know, off the field and all that stuff. Surely the club could go and buy him a premiership ring just as a memento of being there for those 4 years. You know, and I would have thought, you know, surely there's enough money around to grab someone like Jesse Arthurs, for example. If the Broncos win, Jesse Arthurs is 18th man. He's played a lot of football this year.
The famous example is Steve Price, who missed the grand final in 2004, and JT gave him his ring.
Yeah, mate. It's. I'm sure there's more than 17 players get a ring most years. Is that not the case?
Well, you have to play in the grand final.
Yeah, you have to. But I mean, surely some of the clubs.
I don't know. I don't know whether they do.
Well, I'll be surprised if they don't. Like even looking at the Storm side, for example, you know, a few of those. Grant Anderson's played a fair bit.
Grant Anderson's played most of the year. Yeah.
I mean, I think he would be deserving of one. You know, it's hard to say, and it's hard to pick and choose who would be deserving of one above some of the other reserves that missed out. But I think the example you made of Mat Eisenhuth, I think would be a great one. I think Penrith should just dish out, if it costs them $5,000 or whatever, do it. And buy him a ring.
But the rules are the rules, so I don't
What
see
are the rules?
Well, you have to play in the game to get a ring, to get an NRL. Yeah, but then where do you draw the line? I mean, look, what if you use 32 players? I'm not going to give out 32 rings.
Yeah, but mate, some of them, you know, mate, he deserves one. You know, because he was almost there in 4 years in a row. Anyway, what would I know? I'm just an expert.
And lastly, Mick, how do you feel about old school individual player introductions down the tunnel for the grand final teams?
I love it. I love it. Introduce them one by one as they come out on the paddock. You know, just make it 10 minutes longer. You know, let them come out 10 minutes earlier and just do it.
If you're the first bloke out, you're waiting there for a while.
Yeah, but mate, you know, the adrenaline's beating, your heart's pumping, and you're taking it all in. You're getting. If you're Teddy, for example, and maybe Teddy would come out last because he's the captain, I don't know. But you know, those sort of blokes or whatever. But I think it'd be great. I don't dislike that. Mm-hmm. You know, calling them out one by one, and you don't have to make it over. Take it a minute each time. Like, do it over 30-second period or something. Let the fans give them a roar or boo or whatever they want to do. I'm sure some blokes would get booed in the modern game, wouldn't they?
I don't think there'll be too many cheers for Reece Walsh this week.
Well, it'll be interesting.
Being played in Sydney.
Yeah, well, maybe not. I mean, you don't know who they're going to be going. Who do you think will be the favourite team?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these are...
You would think it's going to be Storm.
Well...
but they're full of Queenslanders as well.
Yeah, that's right. Gee, it could be a big day for or big day for the Broncos specifically on Sunday. Yes. I don't know that the individual player introductions are going to come back, but it's a nice thought.
Can you tell me I'm doing a good job here too?
You're doing some great stuff.
Thanks a lot. Keep going.
Really, really good. Really good.
How long does this go for? Show?
Probably another hour and a half. That's us, Big Man. Thanks to Tab. For the best time in sport, Tab has the best app in sport.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Now we've got a power surge thanks to Ampol, Darryl.
What?
Now, Ampol Power Surge.
What's that?
It's a top three. So we change the top three every week.
Okay.
Yours this week, top three best grand finals you've ever seen.
I was actually there when Balmain got beaten by Canberra in extra time.
89.
89. That would be one. I think the one a couple of years ago when the Broncos got beaten on the bell by Penrith, or not on the bell, but just before it, when they were leading 24-8, I think it was. They were leading, and they came out at the start of the second half, and Ezra Mam just went bam, 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 and scored 3 tries, and it was all over. It was all over. It was
all over.
And then they managed to score a try, then they got another one, then another one. It was just, that's probably one of the greatest I've ever seen. and there'd be another one, but I just can't remember what it was, what it'd be. But
2015 would have to be.
Well, 2015 was a great game. Yes, I agree. Broncos and Cowboys.
Were you on the sideline for that, or were you in the box?
I think I was on the sideline. I was actually right behind the kick when JT was kicking to win the game from the sideline. And
what a view.
Well, I remember saying, I said, well, you just know he's going to kick this. He'll just kick it.
Everyone thought
because he kicks
that.
it. He kicks those goals. He always kicks it. And then it was in for your life. And then it just straightened up and came off the upright and he missed it. Yeah, they're the three that do stand out in my mind. Without a doubt. Some of the but there's been some great grand finals, but they're the three best, I reckon.
I think you've nailed it very well. That's the Power Surge, thanks to Ampol, powering Australia's own sporting nation. A break and we'll get the Big Marn's tips for Grand Final Day.
Fans always ask, Lozza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, bankers flying, turbo try-scoring, origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
NRLW Grand Final, live and exclusive on 9 and 9 now. Now, I'm conscious you don't get the chance to watch a lot of the NRLW because you're on air for the continuous call team on Saturday, but these two teams have been a class above right throughout the year. Quite amazingly, though, the Roosters, who are unbeaten, they only scraped home last week, are outsiders against the Broncos. 220 outsiders, the Roosters against the Broncos at $1.67, who thrashed Newcastle to get through to the Grand Final.
I like the Roosters. I know they've got one of their gun players is out injured. Tarryn Aitken is out. But I think going into a grand final undefeated, I think, is always fraught with danger. It really is, because the underdog got such an advantage, I believe. But given the fact that they were given such a scare last week, the Roosters, I think they'll be shaken up a little bit by what the Cronulla dished up to them last week. Cronulla, I wouldn't say they were unlucky to lose, but they could have easily won it. They're
actually a pretty handy team, the Sharks.
Yeah, well, the Roosters beat them 40-10, I think,
2 weeks ago.
A couple of weeks before that, and a little bit of confidence. Anyway, I just think the fact that they would stretch to the limit last week is going to play a role in them winning, and I think they can go through undefeated, and I think they'll beat Brisbane, who are a great side. I do get a chance to watch quite a bit of it, mate. Yeah, I do. Often when I'm in here, we'll have the TV on, I'll have a look at it. But
in between entertaining the fans and running the show.
Well, it's hard to do both, but I'm just an exceptional human being. I can do it. But I do watch a bit of it, and I love the way they play. I love the way the Broncos play. They throw it about, and I think you'll find there'll be a few points scored in this game, but I'm going to tip the Roosters. I think they're an incredible price, considering they're unbeaten.
All right, $2.20 outsiders for the Big Man. To the big one, Melbourne $1.70, Broncos $2.15 for the NRL Grand Final for 2025. You can see it all exclusively live on 9. Very fortunate to be out there calling the action alongside Billy Slater and Andrew Johns once again.
You'll be brilliant too. Thanks, luck. Big Man. How many grand finals you called now?
This will be my 5th.
5th? Geez, that's gone quickly, hasn't it?
Do you think it has? It'll be the first grand final I've called that Penrith haven't been in. Isn't that incredible?
This is an incredible situation. Well, I don't know how many I've called, probably.
Have you done 100 Origins?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. But so that's only because Hadley's done 99.
Well, I was just going to say, could you enlighten our audience as to how you've come up with that number of Origins?
Basically, I'd...
Well, you played 2, so there you go.
No, I've called over 100.
Oh, you've called...
Well, mate, I've been in the calling business since 1980. No, I finished in 87, 1991. How many years is that?
That's
a long time.
Years. But 2K didn't have the Origin.
Yes, I know they did, and I was only there 1 year because I got snapped up by one of the other great companies, 2UE, I think. So I've been at the ABC, 2UE, 2GB, 2SM. I've done them all. But I'm sure, mate, I probably have called 100.
Have you worked for Triple M?
No.
Would you ever entertain that thought?
If they sent me an offer, of course I would.
How long were you at 2SM for?
1 or 2 years. I mean, I was in the doldrums there, I've got to say.
Was that a fruitful time in your career?
Not really. I think I was on the backward step then. I'm going backwards, but I managed somehow, I think, to get on the footy show, and that just revived my career.
It's done brilliant. It's a great comeback
since then. So, but I would have done nearly 100. I'm sure. I reckon I've done more than 100. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. What was your question?
I don't know.
Me neither.
Well, what do you think of the market? I mean, it's hard to separate them.
Yeah.
But Melbourne probably deserve to be slight favourites given their experience in these big games.
Mate, if I'm having a bet, I'm having a same game multi. I'm taking Melbourne to win, and I'm taking Harry Grant, man of the match, or Clive Churchill winner. So I imagine you can do that. I'm sure you can. You can do anything these days on the tab, and I think that's for me. That's the bet I'd be having: Harry Grant, Clive Churchill, Melbourne to win.
All right. So, what do you think it'll be close?
Well, everyone
Give us
says
a
yes,
score.
it will be. I'm thinking Melbourne might. I reckon 24-12.
24-12.
Yep. I think that's not close. I think Melbourne might win by a decent margin.
Okay. There you have it. Storm to win. So the Broncos are in both grand finals, and you don't think they're going to win either of them.
Well,
and you're a Queenslander. Oh, gee.
Well, mate, I did get sacked by the Broncos, remember, don't forget.
Of course.
You know, their inaugural season, I was a threat to Bennett. That's why I got the flick.
Got the arse.
It's hard to believe, isn't it, they let a talent like that go. Anyway, doesn't matter. But no, I'm not bitter with them. Not at all.
It's only been 30 years.
It's been a long time. No, mate, I love the Broncos. I love what they're about, and I'm a Brisbane boy, and I'd love to see them succeed, but I just think Melbourne, after last year's, I thought pretty average effort from them. I think they'll lift this year.
And of course, the other game is the state championship final, where the Warriors have been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Right? I think they might have lost 5 games all season. They're up against the Burleigh Bears. Now, they beat Norths at the weekend.
They did beat
Your
Norths,
old club.
Norths, my old club. They beat them on the weekend. Norths have had a fantastic they've had a probably good decade, but the last 5 years have been exceptional. They've won a number of the comps up there, but they got beat by Burleigh, I think, quite easily on the weekend. And they're up against the Warriors, who I must admit I haven't kept a great track of what's going on in the Reggies, but
Well, mate, they've got a good two of Pickies in the team.
Yeah.
Corsi, Tanner Boyd, Bunty Afoa, Jack
It's a good
Cleary.
side.
Jack Cleary's playing.
Yeah.
So they're a very formidable
mate,
outfit.
they don't want to take Burleigh too easy though, because Burleigh to beat Norths would have been a great effort. It's a big ask because the Queensland boys had. Everyone would have celebrated a little bit, and both sides would have, but they don't want to take them too easy, I don't think, the Warriors.
Big Man, thank you so much for coming in and doing 6 tackles with Big Man for this grand final week.
No problem.
It's
I hope
always great to
Gussie's
see
back.
you.
I was going to say,
Hopefully he'll be right for round 1 next
I
year.
was going to say, I hope he's back next week, but there's no point.
I don't think he will be.
We don't do this in the off-season, do we?
Not unless you want to.
Oh, if you wanted for a small fee, I'd be available.
It's always great to see you, and enjoy grand final day, and I'll see you out there.
Good on you, Tom. Have a great call.
That is 6 tackles with Big Man / 6 tackles with Gus for 2025. To everyone that's listened to us every week, thank you so much. Your support is very much appreciated. We've had a huge outpouring of support right throughout the year, including a live show that we enjoyed very much at Canterbury Leagues. Enjoy all the action of grand final day, which you can watch live and free on 9 and 9 now, and we'll see you next year.